How's it going, everyone? College Lefty, and this video is going to be how you can decide who the best pitchers are in MLB The Show 20. And I'm basically going to go over a variety of terms. I'll hide the face cam so you can take a look at some of these terms, and I'll explain what they mean. So for pitchers, we have attributes, pitch mix, motion, meter/analog feedback, individual attributes, quirks, velocity, and also velocity differential. And then, of course, stamina and stamina recovery, or recovery in general, for all pitchers. So quickly, we'll go over the team that I'm using. I strongly believe that I have one of the best teams in Diamond Dynasty. I also have a variety of other players that I can use. But when we're thinking about pitchers that we would like to use, we want to keep in mind several things, and this is how you can decide which pitchers are the best pitchers for you to use as well, right? Everybody plays at different times in the game. That will come into play. Everybody plays at different levels of difficulty, and we want to use all of the features in game. So the very first thing I want to talk about is this compare screen, right? This is one thing that can help you when you're determining, which pitcher should I use? This guy over this guy, or, in this case, Trevor Bauer over Garrett Cole. Trevor Bauer looks like a much better pitcher, but there is a variety of things that we can do to determine that. So I'm going to quickly go through, some of the best pitchers in the game, talk about who I think, the top pitchers are. I think Clayton Kershaw has got to be up there in the discussion for one of the best pitchers in the entire game. And I'm going to get into a little bit more in depth as to why. So he does have a pretty good pitch mix, pretty good change in velocity. We'll take a look at his individual attributes here, and I'll talk a little bit about this website and where I got this information. So this is an actual database that's linked up with Diamond Dynasty, and if you search Daddy Leagues Diamond Dynasty on Google, you can really get specific on what you're looking for. I mainly use this database for pitchers. And if we take a look at Walker Buehler here, and we'll take a look at him a couple times throughout this video, but I think that he is overall the best pitcher in MLB The Show. And I can back up the reasons why I think that. Well, he has 4 pitches that max out at 99 break. He also has all of his pitches that are above 80 control, alongside some elite attributes, as well as a pitch mix, and his motion is fairly easy to control. All of those things come into play with the walks per 9, the control attributes, the individual attributes, the pitching clutch, the break. All of these quirks can give you some of that information as well. Another thing to keep in mind is that with postseason cards, Tops Now cards, and Finest cards, they have active quirks like Night Player and Stopper. They also have quirks that give you information about the card where you don't necessarily have to look it up using the Diamond Dynasty database. But if we take a look at his individual pitches, we see that all of his pitches are above 80 in break and control. That will allow him to earn those quirks on his player card like Sinker Baller, Knee Buckler, and other quirks like that. Now, it doesn't necessarily do anything in game, but it lets you know that he has elite control and break, or one or the other, on his player card. Now, Jacob deGrom is another really good pitcher. He's one of the best in the entire game. And when I'm referring to these pitchers, I'm not thinking about going up against some of the best players in the entire world in MLB The Show. I think that for the most part, we're taking a look at, in general, the average player from 600 rating all the way up until 900 rating, maybe a little bit below that as well, right? These pitchers are going to do extremely well against them, or have the potential to, right? They are the best players that you can use, in my opinion. Now, this is for you to decide, but Jacob deGrom does have some elite quirks. He has some elite attributes, and if we take a look at it, his worst pitch is his 2-seam fastball, and even that is still pretty good. But at the same time, his worst pitch other than that is the curveball, which already to me is not a very good pitch in MLB The Show 20. So with that being said, this is information for you to use so that you can decide who the best pitchers are for you specifically. Now, I think Darvish is one of the best, finest pitchers that you can get, and I also think that he's one of the best pitchers in the game. Because he is a finest card. He has the quirks. He has great attributes. He's a 99. He's got a great pitch mix. He's easy to control. He's got a good motion, good velocity differential. And I think that these quirks fit my play style. I play a lot of my games at night. I give up a lot of home runs early on in the game, so I'm usually playing from behind, and I don't care if I'm playing on the road or home games. I just play the game regardless. And he also has some pretty good pitch attributes. So I have these reasons why I'm backing up, some of the statements that I'm making. I also have some players that I think kind of fly under the radar a little bit. But I wanted to talk about a few different things here throughout this video, because I haven't necessarily talked about stamina and stamina recovery or a couple of these other things. Now, Orel Hershiser, I believe, is still one of the best pitchers in the entire game, because he has a very deceptive motion and all of the things on the list, in my opinion. Now, when we're taking a look at the card on Diamond Dynasty or Daddy League's Diamond Dynasty, we want to keep in mind that this card can be prestige. Now, I'm looking at the 98 overall, so when you prestige him, you are able to add +3 on all of those individual pitch attributes. Now, that also comes into play with some of these finest cards, so keep that in mind as well as we cycle through this. That's why I think that a lot of these brand new cards that are released are the best pitchers in the entire game, but that's for you to decide on your own. Here we have Trevor Bauer, almost maxed out hits and K per 9. He's got maxed out pitching clutch, which comes into play when you have runners in scoring position and your controller's vibrating. He also has the day player quirk, which doesn't really come into effect when I'm playing at home, but if the opponent chooses a day game and I'm playing away, then this card's going to pitch much better. He's going to shrink the PCI a little bit in the same way that the quirks for offensive players increase the PCI slightly. So with all those things being said, I think that Trevor Bauer is very good. He does have 99 break on his knuckle curveball, and I think that that's a little bit of a better pitch than, let's say, a typical curveball. But anyway, Devin Williams is the only relief pitcher. Actually, I shouldn't say that. There's one other relief pitcher, but it's for a different reason. Devin Williams is on this list because I think that he is the best relief pitcher / closing pitcher in MLB The Show 20. He has elite stuff. I mean, in terms of pitch mix, he's got great attributes. He has really everything on the list. And he also has these quirks. He can be prestige. There's just a lot of things that he's got going in his favor. And to be honest with you, his worst pitch is actually his sinker, which is his fourth pitch. And most of the time we see on these pitchers that their fifth pitch is their worst one. Not in this case. Now, when you take a look at the prestige card, he is going to get a +3 on all of these attributes except for durability. And durability makes a difference in MLB The Show 20. I'm going to talk a little bit about why, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that exact thing right now, because Bob Gibson is on this list not necessarily because he has a deceptive motion, but because he has pretty much everything else that in terms of what you would like in a pitcher. The fact that he is kind of easy to read is the one downside to this card, but he does have a very good durability attribute. He does have great per 9s as well as individual pitch attributes. And the reason why I keep saying durability and why it's important is because of stamina recovery. He has 95 durability, which allows him to have the unbreakable quirk, which I've actually made a video specifically on that, because it does make a big difference, especially after some of these patches, and even before they did some of these patches. It makes a difference on stamina rejuvenation in between games. Now, that's kind of an interesting thing to say, but he also will avoid injuries. I think there are still injuries online. I haven't really seen too many pitchers get hit in the face and actually hurt, but it does happen once in a while in MLB The Show 20. Bob Gibson is a pitcher that will not only recover stamina a little bit more than some of the other pitchers that have a lower durability attribute, but he also has that quirk to go along with it. Now, I don't know what the difference between 94 durability is and 95 durability, but that is the threshold for the quirk. And John Smoltz is on this video because he has 94 durability on both his closing pitcher, his starting pitcher. All 4 or 5, 10 cards that he has in the game have 94 durability, and he does not have this quirk. But if he did, right, if he had one more attribute point, I don't really know if it would make that much of a difference. Now, I've used this John Smoltz closing pitcher card for a while now, since he was released, honestly. I think he's pretty good in the game. As you can see here, though, he doesn't have that quirk. I'm not sure. I have never really experienced too many stamina problems or situations where he's been in the yellow or red stamina range as a closing pitcher. Now, when I'm talking about that, I'm not talking about in game. I'm talking about in the menu when I'm looking at the energy bar before the game, or actually in the bullpen when I'm going to that screen. So keep some of these things in mind as you're deciding who are the best pitchers in the game to use, or, who should I be trying to get with my stubs, things like that. Now, I don't know. I think John Smoltz is okay in the game. He does get hit around, but so does every pitcher. Every pitcher gets lit up for me, and I think that the main thing to keep in mind is that there is a significant difference between Darvish and his 38 durability attribute and, let's say, Bob Gibson or even John Smoltz. Those pitchers are going to recover much faster than a pitcher like Darvish, which I don't think a lot of people are really looking at that durability attribute when they're thinking about pitchers in the game. Now, in my last video, I talked about why I didn't think Michael Kopech was very good in MLB The Show, but this is why. I mean, he doesn't really have the best individual attributes. He doesn't have any quirks. He doesn't really have some of these things that are, on this list going in his direction. But Nelson Lamet is a pretty good example. I'm going to start to talk about some more players that I think kind of fly under the radar that are pretty good to use. And I think that Luis Castillo could be on that list as well. His worst pitch is his four-seam fastball, but you don't necessarily need the best break or control attributes on that specific pitch. All of his other pitches are fairly good. Same type of thing here with the Lance Lynn. All of his pitches are good except for his curveball, and that would probably be the pitch that I use the least amount with this card. Now, that kind of leaves you with 3 fastballs and a changeup, but if you are able to mix in, that curveball every once in a while, as long as you don't hang it because of that control attribute, then I think that he'll be effective, and he could be pretty good. And now, I've never used him, but I have some information based on what he could potentially do for me on my squad. Now, Max Fried is a pretty good pitcher. He also has a quirk that not many pitchers have, is that pickoff artist. Now, I don't know if that actually does anything. It is an active quirk. Maybe they won't step off the mound and throw the ball into right field as often, but he does have some pretty solid attributes all around. Another pitcher I noticed that has the pickoff quirk is Kyle Hendricks. But, Topps Now players do have some of these live series active quirks. Lucas Giolito is another good sleeper card to use if you want to try and, mix them in the rotation for a start. But that's going to do it for this video. That's how to decide who are the best pitchers in MLB The Show 20. And hopefully I was able to help you out in some way. Thank you all for watching, and peace out.